I love this video about manifestation by Dr. Joe Dispenza that I'm about to share with you guys. It's a manifestation story about his daughter being able to manifest a unlimited shopping spree. And I've been watching it for years. It always inspires me to get up and do the work so I can manifest whatever I want. And I just had this idea. It'd be great to share it with you guys, and I'll share the video with you, and I'll react to it, and I'll add some more to it because this video is already amazing. It's got 500,000 views. People love it. But I can make it even more valuable by showing you what he's talking about in that video and actually telling you stories about how I manifested doing the certain using some of the same techniques. So let's get right into it.
My daughter probably is really the greatest creator I've ever come across in my life. And I'll tell you a few stories of my children in closing. My daughter was 15 years old, and it was the summertime, and she sat down with me, and she just, by the way, had finished her last creation, which was acting in a music video that she created that became #1 in the United States on the charts.
And I found the video. It's Stacy's Mom. Everybody, I'm pretty sure most people in America knows that song, Stacy's Mom. She's got it going on. She is Stacy in the song Stacy's Mom. So she is actually Stacy, and the kid is into her mom. The kid that she has a crush on likes her mom. So I thought that was really cool when I saw the article about Gianna Dispenza. That's evidence to what he's saying, right? She actually was in a #1 video.
With me in the summer, and I said, "So, Gigi, what do you want to work on next? What do you want to work on?" And now, she's 15 years old, so you can imagine. And she said, "I want an unlimited shopping spree." Now, what am I going to say to her? No? I said, "Okay, here's the deal. You got to practice this every day. And I want you to get very clear on your mind on what it would be like to have the most amazing shopping spree of your life. But you can't get up as the same person who sat down in your meditation. You have to get up like you just had the most amazing shopping spree and you shopped your brains out." And what do you think she said? "No problem, Dad." And so it was the summertime, and in the summertime, children love their freedom. But she worked with me, and I wake up at 4:30 in the morning.
I love that he says the summertime and she was with him for the summer, because then you know that this manifestation took max maybe 3 months. And it's always nice to know how long it took to manifest something. And it seems like with me too, when I'm consistent with my visualizations and imagining, it usually takes somewhere between a month to 3 months for something to manifest. Sometimes something manifests in a day. Sometimes it takes a year or a few years, a couple of years, but most things that I'm consistent with, visualizing on a consistent basis, being that new person, usually comes within 1 to 3 months.
And I do my meditation, and then I'm waiting for her, and I hear the alarm go off, and I hear her rustle around in there, and then I hear her settle down, and I wait. Then, 30 minutes later, boom, the door opens up, and I look at her and I go, "How was it?" And she go.
And then that's another good practice is to get up in the morning and visualize what you want, to do a guided meditation, the Dr. Joe meditation, or, just do you can do TM, you can just breathe and relax and then visualize after. But to do meditation and a visualization first thing in the morning is great because a couple years ago, I decided to stop getting up and visualizing for a certain outcome, and as opposed to just every day I'm always creating. We're always creating. There's not a day that you're not creating something. As long as you're thinking and you're feeling, you're creating something. So every day is to get up. The goal is to get up and to be intentional about what I'm creating. So every day is getting up and visualizing something, having some kind of goal that I want to manifest, that I'm looking at, maybe reading it off an index card, the things that I want and giving thanks for it, or scripting, or actually closing my eye and just, visualizing the next thing that I want. And when that thing comes, then I just replace it with whatever else I want next, because there's always something that we want to create. So there's no point in just being like, okay, I'm manifesting something now, and then maybe when that's done, maybe a couple months later, what am I manifesting now? No, every day, every single morning, every night that you're falling asleep, always know what you want to create in your life. And just whenever you create something, just fill in the blank with the next thing into the system of creation, which is first thing in the morning, last thing before you go to bed, you're visualizing, affirming, and or scripting.
And I said, you have to recondition your body into believing that future event is happening to you now, because your body, as the unconscious mind, does not know the difference between an actual experience that produces an emotion that you fabricate by thought alone. And you have to change the circuitry in your brain neurologically to look like the event has happened. Then you have to emotionally condition your body into believing that future event is already done. And when your thoughts and feelings are aligned, when your mind and body are working together, you're headed for a new destiny.
So he's saying when you are a new person, when you're thinking differently and you're feeling differently. When you're thinking and feeling differently because you practice this over and over, just like if every morning you get up and you have eggs every morning for 30 days, you're not going to want to have to eat eggs anymore, because you're going to start craving eggs first thing in the morning. If you get up every morning and go to the gym for 30 days, you may have not liked it so much in the beginning, but after a few days of doing it, a few weeks of doing it, then your body's going to want to go to the gym. And it's the same thing with your imagination, because your body doesn't know the difference between imagining and physically doing something. So if you get up and imagine something over and over and over again, eventually you're going to start, and that imagination comes with feelings, then eventually you're going to start having that feeling without even having to imagine it, because your body's so used to you doing it over and over and over again.
Now, there were some mornings she didn't want to do it, but I kind of knocked on her door and I said, hey, come on, I did mine, you going to do yours? And I got down on her level and I let her know that I had completed mine, and I asked her to complete hers. Now, I was in Washington, D.C., I'll never forget this. I was driving in the cab getting ready to do this lecture, and the phone rings and it's my daughter on the phone. Now, I can't tell if she's laughing or she's crying, but she's altered in some way. And I say, what? Oh, that unlimited shopping spree, it happened today. I said, really? Tell me everything, don't leave anything out. She said, okay. And she was visiting a friend of hers in Santa Monica, California. And I live in the Pacific Northwest in Seattle. And she said, okay, Dad, I went to my favorite store. And my buddy and I were, rifling through the racks. You know how kids do that. And she said, all of a sudden, this guy walks up to us, my friend and I, and says to my friend, hey, is your father Sam Borelli? And the young girl says, yeah, that's my dad. He said, okay, you two come with me. So he takes these two kids, he walks them behind the counter and then behind the door, and he says, listen, your dad did me a major favor 6 months ago, and I've been trying to figure out a way to pay him back. And so he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out the company credit card and he said, ladies, have a nice afternoon. So the cab pulls over on the side of the road, and I say to my daughter, how much did you spend? She said, I spent $7,500 today, Dad. I said, do you feel guilty about that? She said, nope. And I said, never feel guilty for anything you do, good or bad.
That's one of the things I learned from Dr. Joe, is not to feel guilt about anything you do, good or bad, guilt or shame. It doesn't matter what you've done, I mean, guilt or shame doesn't help you to solve the problem. If you did something that was wrong, then you figure out what you've done, how not to do it again, and how you can maybe correct what you've done. You don't need guilt or shame to do any of those things. Guilt manifests punishment. So just go ahead and take care of the problem, fix it within yourself, fix whatever you've done the best you can, and just do better. No reason to feel those feelings. I mean, if you feel them, it's okay, but you want to allow it to pass. You don't want to dwell on it. You don't want to encourage it. You don't want to feed it. Just allow it to pass.
And so I said, look, I got to go. I'm going to call you on my way back to the airport on Sunday. Congratulations. Now, she's the type of kid that bought stuff for her brothers and, everything else. But so when I'm driving back in the cab, I call her up. How you doing? How's it going? Now, here's the beauty behind the whole thing. She was 15 years old. Yeah, 15 years old. And she said, Dad, you know what? The experience was way greater than I ever imagined. And then she said, but you know the part that I can't stop thinking about? It was my mind that created this.
That is one of the greatest feelings when you finally manifest something. That's why I love manifestation so much, because it makes you feel like life is magical. Life is not just 1 + 1 = 2. 1 + 1 = 27. Like the way when you manifest something and you realize that you created this with your mind, not through like working hard and toiling over years and years to create it. There's a pleasure in that too when you enjoy the work. But just creating something strictly from your mind and seeing it manifest in your life is like one of the coolest things for me.
Now, my daughter, since then, has created so many amazing things in her life. And it was Christmas time, and I sat down with her, and I said to her, okay, how do you do it? What's the secret? And she said, I'm going to tell you what I do. I move into a state of being where I convince my brain and body it's already done. And then I get up and live as if my prayers are already answered. She said, the moment I start to analyze and try to figure out where it's going to come from, I just return back to the old self. The new self would never think that way.
That right there is one of the most important things in manifestation, the new self and the old self. Neville Goddard talks about that, the new man and the old man. And I have a few manifestations that really, really I learned that lesson. There was one, I think I might have made a video about it already, but it's about when I needed an editing computer. I wanted to have a computer that was fast enough to edit my videos. And the computer I had at that time was so slow, it was so painful that it was just so challenging and sucked all of the joy out of doing it. And for like a year, I would be visualizing it, like sometimes, not disciplined, just sometimes visualizing this, a new editing computer. I wanted a new MacBook, iMac desktop, really like a $5,000 thing. After a year, I realized that I am still using the same computer, maybe a little bit shorter than a year, but it was a long time. I'm still using the same computer. This shouldn't be taking this long. And I realized that I was not being consistent, number one. And number two, even when I did visualize myself with a new computer, for the rest of the day when I was editing, I would be complaining about how, in my mind, about how ridiculously slow this is and feeling the feelings of frustration. And it clicked to me in that moment. If I had a new editing computer, I would not be feeling frustrated and aggravated about the computer that I have. I would be feeling grateful. So at that moment, when I realized that I had to change, I had to live as the new man, right? The new man, like she said, as soon as I started thinking about how this was gonna happen, I would return to the old person because the new person would never think like that. That's what she said, right? And this is what I realized, that I had to be the new man. I had to be the person with the great editing computer. And within, I think, maybe like a week of consistently visualizing every day and being aware to feel grateful about this computer and how easy it is. I was putting myself in the shoes of that new person with the editing computer, and I was like, oh my God, this is so nice. That this edits so quick and so easy. It's such a joy, and I was able to put myself in that space every day. And anytime I was editing with the old one, I gave thanks for that one, that I had a computer that I could edit with and not put the negative feelings of frustration and aggravation, or else I'd be blocking the other thing from coming, right? And it was days. It wasn't even a long time. I ended up getting an editing computer. It was not the iMac I wanted. It ended up being a new iPad that came out with an M processor chip that was able to edit the videos I wanted really quickly in a really cool way. I got an iPad, and it was way cheaper than the computer that I wanted, and I was able to buy it with cash. So that was cool. Yeah, that's a great. I love that video, and it also reminds me of another time between the old person and the new person when I was manifesting a car. I had gotten my BM. I've manifested multiple BMWs because that was my dream car for a while, and I had just got a repo because I did not learn the lesson. I learned how to manifest having it, but I didn't learn how to manifest keeping it, because that can be two different things. Getting something and keeping something is another thing. So I found a way to create it, but then I didn't see myself easily affording it, And so I had gotten a repo, and I was so mad about that. But I realized in that moment that I was not going to let this anger take me over, because it would stop me from being able to get another one. So even though most people were like, hey, what are you doing? You obviously can't afford that car. I knew it had nothing to do with affording the car. I knew that it was me that messed up. When I reviewed what was going on in my mind, I was having lots of fear of being able to afford this or not, instead of seeing myself easily affording it every month, and maybe even paying it off in full. That's not what I was doing. And my actions was following that lack. And so I knew what I had to do the next time I got one. And so every month I was visualizing myself, with this car again, right? I had to release the anger and forgive myself and let go of that whole situation of it being repoed and all that stuff. And I had to keep visualizing over and over, see myself with this car. And I was doing it, and I was doing it consistently. But then one day, it was like 2 or 3 months into doing this, right? One day, and I didn't see a way of getting the car, right? But I just trusted this process. One day, 2 or 3 months into this, I had a dream. And it was about this woman, Helen Hasdell, that she talks about the SPEC method of manifesting. And I'll put a link to one of her videos in the description. And I just remember, because I watched a lot of Helen Hasdell, and I love her as a manifester, and she manifested all kinds of amazing things. And she was in newspapers as the queen of contest or something like that. And in the video, in my dream, I was dreaming about her. And when I woke up, I was trying to think, why am I dreaming about her? What significance is this? And I remember thinking, when I was thinking about her, how relaxed she was. She just thought of it as a game. Her husband was working, and they had enough money. Even one of the things she manifested was a trip to Paris, and it was taking longer than they expected. And her husband was like, "Should we just buy the tickets?" So they had the money to manifest it, to buy it themselves, but she wanted to manifest a win, a Paris ticket win, so that she didn't have to pay for it. And so what I got out of that dream was that there was no frustration, there was no lack, there was only lightness and a playfulness in her manifestations. And that's why she was so good at it. She didn't need to manifest any of these things because they had the money to buy it. And a lot of times when we're trying to create something, especially when it comes to money, we're trying to manifest something, maybe like to pay the rent or pay our mortgage or to get a car or something like that, something we think we need. And so there's this kind of desperation and fear around it that could mess with the manifestation, because you can't put out desperation and lack and fear when you're trying to create something. When you're trying to create it, the strongest emotion you should be feeling is gratitude, because that says that you have it already, right? Gratitude will attract it to you. Fear frustration, aggravation, lack, all of that's going to push it away. So when I had that dream and I realized what it was, I realized that I had like a fear grip trying to manifest this car. And for the rest of the day, I was complaining in my mind about having to share this car. And I was calling myself Daddy Uber. Like I had to like drive everybody everywhere because we only had this one car, right? And I was like, okay, that's it. From this moment on, I'm only going to feel gratitude that I have this car, just like I did with the editing computer. Because at first I was complaining throughout my head for that whole year and I was inconsistent. I was like, I was already consistently visualizing having a new car, but I was like, throughout the day, I will make sure that I am feeling grateful and feeling like the new person that has my BMW back, and I will be living as that person. So I will feel the gratitude of having two cars, of not having to be Daddy Uber and drive everybody everywhere anymore, and just feeling all that gratitude of that car from this moment forth. And I'm telling you, so amazing. I did my meditation that morning, and that day I got the BMW out of friggin' nowhere. Out of nowhere, know how everything came together in that moment, and then we got the BMW. And that BMW I had until we traded in for the Tesla that we manifested. So it was paid, never told. So I just wanted to share those stories with you, and I want to share this Dr. Joe video with you. I love this video. This video inspires me so much. There's so many cool things about it that basically tells you how to manifest anything you want in a nutshell. Just be consistent, be disciplined, be consistent, have a vision, have an intention, and be consistent with seeing it and feeling it every day. And then as you go out through the day, make sure you are the new person, because whoever that person is that has that thing is grateful and they're feeling good. Right? And they have certain thoughts that correlate with that thing. So as you go on through the day, make sure that you are that new person throughout the day. Whatever you're trying to manifest, you're feeling grateful for that car, that new home. You know, you're not complaining about the home you're in right now. You're walking around throughout the day grateful for the new home. You're grateful for the new car. You're grateful for that relationship, whatever it is. One of my mentors, Laura Day, she wanted a husband, and she would wear her I think she wore a wedding ring, and she would set a place at the table every evening for her husband, and she manifested her husband. She's always giving thanks for her husband on social media now. But just make sure throughout the day you're being that person. Don't just visualize it and feel it in the morning or some random time in the day, and then for the rest of the day be the old person that doesn't have it, complaining about not having it, because it won't come, or it'll take a very long time to come. So make sure to be congruent throughout the entire day. If you can do that, you will manifest, and you'll manifest it a lot faster than you normally probably manifest things. Yeah, man, and just believe in magic. It's possible, it can happen. Trust me, it's like amazing when you do it. Start small. If you haven't consciously created anything, start small, and then keep track of your manifestations. Every time you manifest something, write it down. You know, it gives you encouragement. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe and like, and please comment your favorite thing about this video, because I love this. I'm probably gonna start watching mine now instead of his. But I love this video, and I'll link to the original video as well if you want to see that.